Electoral authorities claim that Venezuela's president has won a third term in office, and President Biden is calling on Congress to establish term limits and an enforceable ethics code for U.S. Supreme Court justices. Good morning, I'm Corva Coleman from NPR News, and here are today's top stories. Election officials in Venezuela are claiming that incumbent President Nicolas Maduro has won a third term in office. With 80% of the ballots counted from yesterday's election, they say Maduro beat the opposition candidate 51% to 44%. The Venezuelan opposition isn't buying that. They say their candidate won in a landslide. Several other foreign officials, such as Secretary of State Antony Blinken, say something's wrong.
We've seen the announcement just a short while ago by the Venezuelan Electoral Commission. We have serious concerns that the result announced does not reflect the will or the votes of the Venezuelan people.
Chile's president says the Venezuelan results are, quote, difficult to believe. Israel says it's considering its options after a rocket fired from Lebanon killed 12 children over the weekend in the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights. Hezbollah, based in Lebanon, says it was not responsible. Separately, talks continued over the weekend in Rome about a potential ceasefire in Gaza. Willem Marx has more.
As tensions on Israel's border with Lebanon spiked significantly, the Israeli government acknowledged in a statement that its foreign intelligence head had participated in talks held in Rome Sunday. Officials meeting in the Italian capital had sought to develop an agreement for Israelis held captive inside Gaza to be released as part of a swap for hundreds of Palestinians detained in Israeli jails, and potentially to calm the deepening conflict with Hezbollah in Lebanon. Unresolved obstacles in the talks include the status of Israeli troops inside Gaza during any ceasefire, the durability of any truce, and Israel's security role along the Gazan border with Egypt. Israel said the discussions would continue in the coming days, but provided little further details. For NPR News, I'm Willem Marx.
President Biden has released a proposal for changes at the U.S. Supreme Court. In an op-ed today in the Washington Post, Biden is asking Congress to establish term limits for the justices and impose an ethics code. The president says he's also responding to the court's recent decision giving presidents immunity from criminal prosecution. He says the justices decided there is no limit on what a president can do. Biden wants a constitutional amendment to overturn that. Biden may speak of his proposals today when he visits the Lyndon Baines Johnson Presidential Library in Texas. NPR's Marie Andrusevich reports he will also celebrate the signing of the Civil Rights Act.
The landmark anti-discrimination law was proposed by President Kennedy, but signed by President Johnson, whose name has been linked with Biden's lately since he was the last sitting president to drop a bid for re-election, before Biden did the same thing on July 21st. The event was originally to be held 2 weeks ago, but was postponed following the assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump. The library says the event is closed to the public, but will be live-streamed. President Biden will also make a second stop in Texas at Houston City Hall to pay his respects to Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, who died earlier this month. Vice President Kamala Harris is expected in Houston later this week to honor Jackson Lee. Marie Andrusevich, NPR News, Washington.
You're listening to NPR.